More than I need, what you want, girl, it's yours. Give me your feelings, I just can't ignore. 'Cause all I want is you, baby. Give me your time, all your love, I've been paid.
What's going on, family? It's your boy Russell the Fourth.
Hey everybody, it's me, Brandy.
And welcome to the what that it don't feel right just being regular with this one. Welcome to a very special episode of the What They Never Told Us podcast. We're rolling.
And listen, this is why it's special, right? Russell and I are from middle of nowhere, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
We are two nobodies who decided to start a podcast, and the connections that we have been able to make through this platform have just been amazing. So while neither one of us have stepped foot in the UK, we have a visitor today who is from England. I know the UK, but you're from England?
England, London,
England.
We love it. So the person we have here today, okay, I don't have time. I'd be here for the entire duration of the episode if I try to sum up all of the dopeness that we have on the podcast today. But children's book author, CEO of the Co-Parent Support Network.
Come on.
Aficionado of all things co-parenting, blended family, and just a good heart and a good dude. Ladies and gentlemen, we are so happy to introduce to you not just our friend, but our homie, our bruv. It happened. Erin Dale, what's going on? What They Never Told Us.
Can I just start off by saying, you guys, you're not nobodies. We're all somebodies. We're all somebodies, and that's how we came here. So
Amen.
Thank you for that introduction. That was amazing.
Absolutely, man. We're just happy.
Just so I can hear it. I'm ready for that.
Absolutely. So, number one, for the people who are listening, we need to put you on game. If you're on Instagram, if you're on TikTok, I need you to look up at Raising Boys 2 Men. That's the number 2. Raising Boys 2 Men. That's how you're going to find Erin. And you'll see why we're just so excited to have him on. His content speaks for itself. Just a good-hearted person.
Yeah, our connection with Erin actually defies everything that I believe in when it in regards to friendship. I don't make friends very easily. This is not. It's not a secret. Brady's not too nice to people I don't know. And when we started this, people would reach out to us and inbox and things like that, and I'd be like, "They're weird. Don't respond." But Erin found us and reached out in a very genuine way, and I can tell you the power of social media and the connections that you're able to make. You are an aficionado of making connections and networking from a genuine space. Because there's people who like, oh, I see their platform. I want to be a part of that. How can I interconnect my business with their business so that I can excel? But you're more of like, hey, how can we help each other? I just want you guys to win. I believe in what you're doing. And I'm telling you, we appreciate those random messages in the middle of the night because the time difference is crazy. And I wake up like, why is Erin on Instagram at 2 o'clock in the morning? But it's not 2 o'clock in the morning where you're at. So thank you. And tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about what you do and who you are and where you came from. They want to hear from you.
Okay, so my name's Erin, and I'm from London, UK, England. And I started a platform about probably like 2 years ago called Raising Boys to Men, like Russell was saying. And it kind of stemmed off of me going on a podcast to talk about fitness. The initial thing was, you're going on this to talk about fitness, but the conversation started to go left. And something said to me, talk about your dad. Talk about that situation. I had this feeling like I should just be a bit more open. So the whole conversation ended up being about my father and the upbringing and the fact that I'm basically the result. My dad was in a relationship. He and that woman had a child, who's my sister. And if I get the timings right, probably 3 months after she was born, my dad had an affair with my mum. I'm the result of that affair. My dad went back to that relationship, had more children, and kind of ignored me. The crazy thing is, up until the age of 9, we lived pretty much a few doors away from each other.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, he didn't really make much effort. When me and my mum left that area, he came to see me when I was 9 years old. And I just remember this vividly. He came to see me and we went to KFC. So I was getting chicken. I was happy. Okay, my dad showed up. I'm getting a 2-piece and I'm good. And I remember him saying, I'm going to make more effort. Sorry. I felt like, okay, because me and my mum are away from that area now, you're feeling a bit more comfortable about showing your face.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that was when I was 9. He promised me he was going to make more effort, gave me chicken, and I didn't see him again until I was 16.
Wow.
And that was literally, I think he got my number through a family friend, and it was a random call. It's your dad. And we kind of started seeing each other again, but nothing really materialized. And like I said, I was on that podcast, and something said, speak about this. I did. The person I was speaking to could kind of relate. And then from there, loads of questions started coming. And I thought, you should be more proud of your journey because it's made you who you are. You're not responsible for it, but you are responsible to speak on it.
That's so good.
And that's what I decided to do. And from there, the platform just became more about my upbringing, being raised by a single parent, having children from different relationships, but making sure I wasn't my dad. And I was very present, very involved. And yeah, it kind of stemmed from there.
Wow.
So we call that thing you keep talking about the Holy Spirit. Gives us those nudges to like, hey, I put this in you for a reason. Go ahead and release that.
It's like a good idea, but it's more than it's a God idea.
It's a God idea. You know it's not you because you're like, and I'm embarrassed about this. I don't want to talk about this. Why would I talk about being divorced? Why would I talk about being the product of an affair? Why would I talk about these things? Those are the things that embarrass me. But when you can be the example and show the other side of that and how they grow you, it opened doors for people. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for being here.
I want to ask you so when did you become aware of all these dynamics, right? Like it's one thing to just know like, hey man, my dad's not around as much. Like what's up with that? When were you aware that, okay, there was an affair? Okay, when did you become aware of all those other dynamics that kind of make it more difficult?
So I think there's so many layers to this story, right? When I was on that estate, we call them estates. I don't know what you guys call them. It's like it's an area where I guess the council and the government, it's like kind of cheaper housing.
Oh, the projects.
Kind of like
we call them the projects.
But yeah.
Hey, I like what you guys call it. That sounds a lot better. It's got a better resource. I live on the estate. Bro.
I grew up in an estate too. It was called Chalet Terrace. It's very, very English. Actually,
I like that. All right.
So when I lived in the projects, I'm going with the projects. Right. When I lived in the project, my mum made it clear, there's your dad, that's your sister. And I grew up knowing that. I think on their side, they didn't disclose that. My older sister was aware. So I remember even kind of interacting in a playful way with my older sister. What's crazy is she's a year older than me, but her birthday is one day before me.
Oh, wow.
So I was aware, okay, that's my older sister, but we don't talk. And we're not connected. And I knew that, okay, at the time, there's my younger sister, who was about 4 or 5 years younger than me.
Okay.
My third sister hadn't been born at that time. So when we moved, I was aware of the dynamics. The crazy part was when I was about 18, I was about 18 years old, my middle sister started coming around this estate and hanging around people I knew. But she's not aware of who I am. But because my mum's always disclosed who people are, I'm aware that's my sister. She's hanging in my circle, and that's my sister. I then spoke to some people around me, and I said, I'm going to have to let this person know we're related, because just say there was a crush or she started to feel a certain type of way, that would have been a whole different situation.
Yeah.
So I remember we went to a fair. We went to a fun fair, and I'm just sitting with her on the grass, and my heart's bang, 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 because I know I'm about to say something that's potentially going to turn your whole life upside down. And I said to her, hey, you've got a sister called, and she was like, yeah. And I go, and your dad's called? And she was like, yeah. Oh my gosh, you know the family. I am the family. I'm your brother. And she froze. She didn't quite understand. I then tried to explain things. She calls Dad up and says, can you come and get me? She hasn't said what's happened. She's just said, can you come and get me?
Wow.
So he drives. It's been about 20 minutes. He drives. He pulls up, sees us standing together. He's never seen us together. So he sees us together. And for a black man, he turned completely white.
Wow.
He was completely shocked. He let us both come in the car, him and my sister shouting at him, why has no one told me? What's going on? All my dad could do was blame her mum.
Wow.
And that was a moment for me. I just realized this man has no accountability.
Yeah.
This man is never going to accept his part in any of this. And I thought from that moment, okay, everyone knows now. So I'm 18, she's 14, my sister's 19. Everyone knows
We can
families
be a family.
can now be blended.
Yeah.
Yeah, never happened. Never happened.
Wow. This is interesting. Me and Brandy just had a conversation, I don't know, a week, 2 weeks ago, but there's a show we like to watch, and it kind of like follows around people who have been overcome by addiction, various addictions, heroin, you name it, anything you could be addicted on. And one common theme that we saw were people who were completely rattled and rocked by family dynamics, whether that be divorce, whether that be situations like what you're talking about now. We've seen those things, and it's interesting how for some people they can navigate through those things and find a way to come to some semblance of, like, you know, coping and working through it and resolve. And then for other people, it's something that happens and it completely changes the trajectory of their life, right? Like, we've all had interesting dynamics around your, what do you call it? Your family of origin, your family of origin, right? What for you, like, made it so that this wasn't a thing that derailed the course of your life? Because when I look at your content, I'm like, okay, so that's what gave birth to this. I'm like, okay, he's got kids, you know, so maybe he's just really passionate about parenting. But a lot of people don't know that behind someone's like gift and their anointing and all the stuff that's like really amazing is a lot of hurt that they had to overcome. So what for you, like, what for you helped you turn this into something positive rather than a negative?
I feel that there has to be purpose to the pain. We have to give pain purpose, right? So many people go through things and you ask yourself, for what? Why am I continuing to go through this? But if you find a purpose in that, for example, I've gone through all of that, but I'm now able to help so many people by speaking on it. There's been purpose for that, and that now drives me to push even more. Whereas I could have looked at it as, why me? I've gone through this, why me? I wish this, I wish that.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Thank you for it being me.
Wow.
That's how I look. Thank you for it being me, because I now know what to do with this. Someone else in my position may not have known what to do with this. I feel like I do.
Now, Erin, have you always known what to do with it? Because I'm going to self-profess here that we have a lot of wisdom and knowledge based off what we've experienced and how we've been able to turn the pain that we've experienced into purpose. But for me, it has not always been that. Like, I was ratchet, I was ghetto, I was trying to find my father's love in every man that I could. I wanted him to be my daddy, and I wanted him to love me like my daddy never did for a long period of time. It's just now in the last 3 years that I'm like, oh God, I see what you was doing there. Like, I see why you did that. But for the other 35 of those years, I was just trying to figure it out and doing whatever it was that made me feel good. And I know you talk about a point in your life too, where you was just doing whatever it was to make you feel good and trying to find something. Have you always felt like, okay, this is for a purpose? Or was there a time where you were lost too and kind of came to yourself?
I was angry growing up. I felt like I missed out. I had cousins that I had a cousin that was playing professional soccer over here, and I saw how his dad was, and my dad would even go to the games.
Wow.
And I always used to think, if only I had the push from my dad the way my cousin does from his dad, maybe I could have succeeded or excelled in certain areas. So there was moments where I felt, why have we gone through this? I don't understand it. I'm frustrated. But I think the Raising Boys to Men platform wasn't ready 5 years ago. It wasn't ready 10 years ago, because if God put me in that position then, I wouldn't have known what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
The content wouldn't have been the same. I would have been, I don't even know. I feel sometimes we have extended probation periods.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I feel like that's what I was on. I was on an extended probation period. And then, okay, now I'm ready.
Yeah.
Now I'm ready.
Yeah. Wow.
That's good. I like extended probation. I wasn't ratchet. I was just on extended probation. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I love getting all these fancy terms from Erin, and I love this.
Yeah, nah, I'm calling it an estate from now on. I grew up on an estate.
Period.
Sounds better. So this is resonating with me really strongly, and I think more so than I thought it would, because I was different. Like I was more like your sister, who one day just had this punch in the face revelation of family stuff that you have no idea of, and you look up like, what? This family I grew up with, it's there's stuff that you just don't know, right? And it kind of like jolts you to a point where you're like, wow, stuff that I'm not, like, on the podcast I can't even say, because we haven't even reconciled. We haven't even really come to grips with dealing with these family dynamics, right? But when you're talking, it really resonates with me. I want to ask you this. Your dynamic with your siblings, right? Was that ever a factor? Like, of course, we always talk about how we want dad to be there. We want our mom to be there. They're like kind of like really primary relationships as we're getting older. Was there ever a desire for your siblings? Like, were you ever like, man, I really want a relationship with them?
100%. Because I grew up as a single child. I desired, I really wanted, I pushed for that. Even after I revealed myself as the brother, I tried to make contact, but I'm assuming, I have no real knowledge. I'm assuming conversations were had because it wasn't affair. I think my older sister especially really took her mum's side and felt maybe a protection for her mum, and almost like if I'm if they welcome me into that family
It's a
in some way,
betrayal.
it's almost a betrayal to the mum. And yeah, I had to. I mean, what's crazy? Another story. So this was 10 years ago when Tyler was born. I found out that one of my friends who was around me when I explained to my sister who she was. So he was someone I confided in and said, look, I'm about to do this. This is what's going on. But then we kind of separated because we went to different colleges and just didn't really see each other. I found out he was now dating my older sister.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, cool. We ended up speaking on the phone, and we hadn't spoke for a while, but he's telling me on the phone, yep, I'm with your older sister, because I saw a picture on Facebook. But he said, yep, I'm with your older sister. I have been for a while, just to let you know, they want nothing to do with you.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, okay. He said, yep, stop reaching out on Facebook, stop doing this. He said they. So I'm assuming, again, you're speaking on behalf of all of the
Everybody,
sisters.
yeah.
They do not believe you are their brother. Okay. So I went home that day. I was frustrated because as a friend, you was there when I explained all of this.
Yeah.
So you could have held me down a bit more, but you chose not to. Okay, cool. And I remember I was sitting on my mum's sofa, and this weight just came off my shoulders. Like, you know what? You don't need to try no more. Stop trying. And I cried. I don't cry that often, but I think as a man, because I don't cry that often, my cries are remembered. I can remember, okay, I was crying there, and I cried, and I let this all out. And I was like, you know what? I just need to go to the gym. And I'm getting ready. And then Tyler's mum calls and says, my waters have broke. So I'm like, damn, not now. It's just too much. But then it hit me. I felt like that's God's way of saying, forget the family that no longer want you.
Wow.
Here. This is the family. This child is going to need you.
Wow.
Let's change the focus. And yeah, that moments like that will just forever stay in my mind.
So I feel like
that's heavy.
We jump all over, but I love that you mentioned your son, because we see, if you follow Erin, or when you start to follow Erin, you will see Omari and Tyler. And I saw a recent episode, or I don't know if it was recent, but it was a recent clip where you sat down with Omari, which is your oldest, and you were talking to him just about like what it means to be a man, which is something that I'm hearing you say you didn't have growing up. You didn't have that example, especially from your biological father. Is it a push to be such a good dad? I mean, I'm only talking about what I see, but you seem like a really good dad. Because you didn't have that. Like, where does that come from? Because there's so many men out here who are like, look, I'm not with the mom, so I don't have nothing to do with the kid. Or they have a situation like you where I made a mistake, I stepped out, and she had a child. She chose to have it, but she knew I had a family. So, you know, you're left to raise it. There's all these scenarios where men choose not to be in their child's life because of what they came from. But you are doing something different, right? You're like, I didn't have that, so now I'm making sure that I'm there for them. Is that the motivation?
I mean, it is a motivation, but I feel that would almost give it a disservice. I love being a father.
Yes.
And I think if we look at it at jobs, like they say, if you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life, right?
Absolutely.
And I think if you love being a father, you won't see this as a stress, as a strain. Yes, you have ups and downs, and there's times when your kids can get on your nerves, but I love being in this position, and I know that not everyone gets this. And knowing that I am impacting how I always say, okay, two adults can get together and create a baby, right? But then from there, everything you're doing is now building an adult.
Mm-hmm.
You create the child, but you're building the adult. And it's so important that you're aware of what you're doing along that journey, because these kids, how they turn out means so much to me. How they turn out, them doing better than I did, and I want to be able to give them all the tools I wish I had.
Talk to these fathers, Erin. Come on. I see your clips sometimes and I be like, if I could just have the strength to hit the share button and send this to baby daddy number 1 and baby daddy number 2, because
all right,
you be talking about stuff that I am literally going through and I be like, oh, see, if it come from me, it sounds like I'm nagging. But when he say it and he got an accent, they gonna listen, because British people sound smart, right? they got that
Erin
accent that make it like,
Erin is actually intelligent.
Oh,
it's not the accent.
He know what he's talking about. soon as I saw his first clip, I was like, oh yeah, he know. He know what he's talking about, because he got an accent. But seriously, the stuff that you do doesn't just resonate with fathers, like it resonates with mothers too. I want you to know that some of the things you talk about make me feel empowered to then go and have those conversations, because Russell will tell you there's a lot in the dynamics that I have with my children's fathers. So I have 2 baby daddies, and it's
sip my drink.
It's one where I've accepted a lot, right? Not like I put up with a lot, but whatever they're willing to give, I've just accepted it. If it's a lot, cool. If it's a little, cool. Like, I'll just do it, because I don't want them to go without. And there have been a lot of clips of yours that I've seen, and I'm like, I don't just have to do it just because you refuse to. Like, no, it's your responsibility to do it, and you're just putting it on me, but you still have that onus. And I've been able to go and be like, look, I appreciate that you believe in me so much that I can do this, but as a man, you take some ownership here. I need you to step up, and not only for me, but for your kids. And so I can tell you just personally that a lot of what you do and a lot of what you speak about has helped me. It's helped me be bold and be like, nah, it's not you. You're not crazy. Because at first I thought it was me. Like, I want this. I want you to participate, but it's just me that want that.
Yeah.
You don't want that.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you handle that? Like, in your field, where I'm sure you have a lot of conversations around this, I'm sure your inbox is probably filled with people like, how do I have this conversation? How do I approach this? Right? And majority of our listeners are women, so
hey,
I want to make sure I want to make sure we're taking care of our base here. What would you say to mothers who are in a position where they're having issues co-parenting, right? Maybe they feel like they're not getting an equal amount of support. Maybe they feel like, whether that's financially, being present. How do you approach those conversations in a way where it can be receptive? And if it's not received, how do you reconcile that?
I think to start with, it's understanding that there should be 2 of you. I think we get so comfortable being single parents, like, okay, I'm okay, I can do it on my own. Just because you can do it on your own never means that it should be done on your own.
Hallelujah, amen.
And I think a lot of the time, the women I speak to are so afraid to put boundaries in place because they feel it may cause more of an issue. It may have more stuff thrown at them. So it's almost like, I'm willing to take all of this abuse and do all this extra work just to keep the peace. And I feel, imagine if this was a job. We're in the office and your manager's expecting you to do 101 things, but there's someone over here that's completely free. They've got nothing on their table. Are you going to say, okay, well, I'm cool to do this? You're going to say, no, wait a minute. I've seen Susan over there just chilling for the past half. You'll start snitching and all sorts. You're willing to do that. But in co-parenting, it's almost like, oh, you know what? If it's easier, I'll just I'll just do this. No, you're entitled to help. You're entitled to that support. And I think as men, we need to be more accountable. And I always say, I never want a man in my circle that would be afraid to tap me on my shoulder and say, Aaron, you need to do better.
Yeah.
Or Aaron, that's not what we're doing here. And I think a lot of people have the wrong people in their circle. People that allow that kind of behavior to continue when they know it's wrong.
You're preaching.
Yeah, I actually,
you are preaching, sir.
we were on Facebook and we saw there was a guy who recently got out of jail, and it made me think about, he was asking for certain things on Facebook, but it made me think about the people who get out of jail and like they have the friends around them who will buy them weed, who will buy them liquor, but won't help them get a job. That scenario that he just presented is very much like that. Like, we're okay with you living in toxicity and we'll help you do that, but we won't ever help you get better. I don't understand friends like that, like where I can just keep you bound, but I have the knowledge and the information to help you. I'm a good dad, but you're a trash one, and I'm not saying anything about it. And moms too. Like I have wholeheartedly hung out with moms who don't take care of their children and just been like, okay, let's go party. She can go. I can't go.
That part. I've lost whole friendships behind that very thing. I'll never forget. I had a roommate, and we had a mutual friend who fell on hard times and was like, hey, can we just crash for a little bit? And we knew amongst our circle that he wasn't present in his children's life. And one day I was cleaning up and I came across a notebook. I looked like one of mine. So I was flipping through to see if it was, and it wasn't. It was our mutual friends. And I saw that he had pages and pages where he was just writing his kids' names down in the notebook. So I saw like, okay, there's not a lack of affection. Clearly they're on your brain, so much so that you're just writing their names down. Whatever that means to you, it's something that you're doing. So I had a conversation with him, like, what is stopping you? You know, he's a man. In his mind, he had an idea of what a dad was supposed to be. And because he didn't see himself like that, he felt like he couldn't function in where he was at in life. And everything he brought up was financial. And I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna lie to you, that's a piece. Kids need a certain amount of money for, but more important than them having the new Jordans, more important than them being dressed in the finest clothes or having the name brand cereal, is that you're there. Your presence. It's your presence. And there's so many times where people see themselves one way, and based on how they see themselves, it prohibits them from being who they need to be. And that's not just in parenting. That's just in life in general. Because how I see myself, I subconsciously make a decision to live on a level that's way lower than what and who I was created to be. Yeah. So that's why your content, where you're just like, hey, look, you just need to be there. Do you understand how important your role is? That's why when you said when you said men who will be there, because I know so many people who will just hang with bro, smoke with them, drink with them, and at no point do they hold them accountable. It's like, is that a friend? Is that a friend?
I think so many people are fearful to give the message because of the reaction. And I think, imagine some of the greatest leaders, even Jesus himself, imagine if they were fearful to give the message because of the reaction. Imagine where we would be. There comes a point when you have to understand this message is what is needed, right? Let's not think about what happens after that. It needs to come out, right? It's like me when I was sitting on that podcast and something said to me, like we said, the Holy Spirit said to me, you're going to speak about this. No, I don't know how the reaction is going to be. You're going to speak about this. Because I know in 2 years' time, you're going to have a platform that's going to be this, that's going to be this. That was already in place.
Yeah.
He just needed me at that moment in time to take that step.
Wow.
And I think we have to be mindful of that, right? Sometimes don't worry about the reaction is the second step. The conversation about what was said is the third step. Don't worry about any of those steps. Worry about that first one, which is I need to speak.
It's the obedience.
The rest will take care of itself. Exactly. So I think that's it's so important to not be fearful to give that message.
That's so good.
So Erin, what's your reaction from men? Like I'm a comment troll a little bit, just a little bit, okay? And I know how it resonates with me as a mom, but what's your reaction from men? Because I mean, we're in an era where like it's this masculine energy. It's the what are they called? What are the men called? The Samuels, the Kevin Samuels, the high value men who don't want to hear anything negative about other men. And not that what you're saying is ever negative, because I applaud you for never like coming down in a negative manner, but it speaks against what, at least here in the States, a lot of fathers, how they operate. You know what I'm saying? So what's your reaction from men? Do you get the hate or Russell gets, he's a simp. He's hey, let me say this. I get tore up in the comment section every day. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I get tore up every day. Yeah, Russell hears he's a simp.
I'm the king of the simps. I am Homer Simp's son. I am him.
What do they say to you? Is it positive? Do you get positive messages?
If because I'm recognized if I go to my gym or to certain places, people will come up to me. The men that come up to me, it's always love. Okay. It's always, I love what you're saying. Me and my partner watch your videos. Yeah, I'm a dad myself. It's always positive. But I don't know where these men are in the comments because the men are completely different. I think the men in the comments and on Instagram and TikTok, they focus on, they don't hear the message because they're too busy pointing the finger, right? And I tried to give this message to Omari. If I point one finger at you, I have three pointing back at myself, right? So that's even a stronger indication. You need to look at yourself. But men will listen to a video and hear a snippet, right? You haven't heard the whole message. You've heard a section of it, and straight away you're on the defense. You need to talk about women that do this. You need to talk about the mums that do this. For some reason, you assume because I'm saying men can do better, I'm also saying women are perfect.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not. So I think what a lot of men struggle to do is just hear the whole message.
Yeah, that's it. And there's this tension, and I don't know where it came from. I'm sure it came from somewhere, but there's such a high tension right now between women and men, and it's almost like the battle of the sexes. I don't know where it came from, but it's speaking exactly to what you're talking about. If I speak to an area where men can do better, it's almost assumed that I'm pandering to a woman's perspective. I'm pandering to a female audience rather than me just speaking on behalf of men as a man and saying, look, this area we can grow.
I think it also bears to say that right now it's still just cliche to be a good dude. Like, man, for whatever reason, it's not okay to be a good man.
That's crazy to me. It's like, yo, hear this dude talk about taking his wife on a date. He a simp. Huh? What?
I want her to enjoy sex with me. So it makes me submissive to him or to her, or it makes me a punk because I care about what she likes in the bedroom. Like, it just amazes me that being a good man is a bad thing in today's society. So when you have men speaking up and really trying to educate other men about what it means to be a good person, a good man, it's like, oh, you a simp. Oh, you a punk. Oh, you think women are perfect. It's like, what?
So where did this come from? What are we doing here? What is happening?
Asinine is what it is.
We had one video on Instagram. It's our biggest video to date, where I spoke on behalf of men, just educating, like, okay, in this era of the city girls, and it's like the expectation is for a man when he steps into your life, the first thing he's supposed to do is put money up. You know, can you pay my bills? Can you get my nails done? So I had just one clip where I spoke about, you know, it's insane for you to think that because a man is your boyfriend or whatever, that there's now a responsibility for him to provide for you when that's something that is an assignment for your husband, you know. And from that one clip, we attracted that corner of the internet that just really hates women. And like, they were like, yeah. So this is the clip that got me, the comment that got me. One dude commented, and I don't know why this stuck out to me, but he said, nah, y'all don't believe him. Go to his page. He's a simp. And I said, so look, I literally went to my page. I went to my own page and I'm looking through the content like, what is he seeing? Like, I was confused. Like, what are you seeing that, like, I don't understand it. I don't like this era of internet. Like, it's really frustrating me. I wish you wouldn't wait here because now I'm having a hard time turning the corner. I'm really frustrated. I hate it.
Let me ask you though. Let me ask you, when you receive that kind of energy, how are you about the next message that you deliver? Does it make you think more? Does it have an impact in any way?
I think the really dope thing about the way I'm set up in terms of any message I deliver, I'm so aware of where it comes from. Like, I know where my ability stops and where God's influence starts, right? Like, when you talk to me in regular conversation, there is nothing impressive about it. Like, I'm a thinker. I process a lot. I know God's given me an area of perspective and a way to look at things and communicate them. That's my gift. But I'm so aware of like who God is. So rarely, I never force a message. Like, I'm never looking around like, oh, what can I say that's deep? Like, I don't do that. If I don't have something to say, I'm not going to say it. If it's not given to me, it's not going to come out of my mouth. So that's why for a season, God was just dropping words on me. So it was like every day. But then there might be like 3 weeks where I don't post anything because I'm not going to force it because I don't. So in terms of that, I never let outside things affect me because none of what I say comes from the outside. It all comes from what I'm getting from God. And I'd be lying to you if I said that the comments don't affect me, you know, because everybody wants to be seen accurately, right? Like, I don't want you to look at me and think that I'm soft or I'm weak because I love my wife or because, you know what I mean? Like, nobody, like, I want you to know, like, hey, look here, watch your mouth. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want you to know, but at the same time, I just know the weight and the responsibility, like what words can do. So it doesn't affect the message for sure. What about you? How do you feel like it kind of affects how you?
There was a moment in time when it first started where I was trying to create the perfect video, right? The perfect video where the guy that's calling me a simp, it would resonate with him. The mums that are going through, I was trying to hit every target, and nothing was coming because there isn't a perfect video. There isn't a message that is going to resonate with everyone.
So
sometimes I have to focus on this message is for these people, and it's important that they get it. Don't allow these people to stop these people from getting what they need right now.
Yeah.
And I think so many of us we can, but they're making me feel away, and you need to switch off. That you need to focus on these people. They need your message. And I think what we were speaking about earlier is men and women, and there's so much masculinity in the world at the moment, I feel. There's so much that women are being masculine, men are trying to, everyone is fighting for position rather than seeing the beauty and balance. Right? there's such a beauty and balance, men and women balancing.
It's so beautiful.
Women are here to balance us out, right? That's why God created women, because you know what? You need this person.
Mm-hmm.
You on your own, no, you on your own.
It doesn't work.
Not quite right. It doesn't work. You need, but what I've got you. Let me just back. Right? I've got this, and yet we're now fighting against what was meant to help us.
Ain't nothing but the devil. Russell, I think, has I don't know if you call it a testimony, but I think a good example of that in your journey to internet sensation, to becoming Mr. Look, let me tell you something. I know how we talk about, like, for a period of time, that was a goal of yours, right? Internet, going viral, being known.
Oh yeah, that was my days of being a internet comedian.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So there was like, you're right. There was a time frame where I was really pursuing followers, pursuing likes and comments, and had a schedule. Like I had a Monday through Friday content calendar schedule, and the content was great. Tons of engagement, tons of feedback, but it just never matriculated in anything, you know? And it wasn't until I completely stopped doing that. And like, you know, because when I think the first video of mine that actually, I can't even say it blew up, but it was the first one that I saw have an impact. Not just like the laugh face emoji, but somebody like, I needed that. Or thank you. Was a video that I put up with the expectation, I know this is only for me. You know what I mean? Like, because it was one of those God ideas. Like we were just talking about him. I'm just sitting there and it's like, say this, put it out. When I said, look, let me tell you something, I didn't write it down. It just literally what fell out of my mouth. And then I didn't realize till I posted the second one that I said it again. I was like, oh, it could be a thing. Let's just run with that. But it just shows you so much how, like, when you're in purpose, when you're just walking in the area that you know you're supposed to be in, you don't have to try. You don't have to try to make people see you. You're going to reach the people that need what's inside of you. Like, no one had his perspective. Erin, nobody had that perspective. Like,
right.
Everything you're speaking on is something that you lived, that you felt deeply. And now when you, like, anyone can say the words that you're saying, but the spirit behind it, when you're talking and it's like, man, I feel that. It's not just the words you're feeling everything that I went through. And I never knew that about you. I just knew when you talked, I felt it. I'm sitting there like, man, I need to do better. And I think I'm a decent father. But I think I'm a good dad. But I'm like, man, I need to step it up. Let me call my children's mother and be like, hey, are we good? Like, we solid? I want to ask you this. In your personal life and also from your perspective, the people you see, the people you counsel, what is the most difficult aspect of co-parenting?
Focusing on the co-parent. And I say that, I know it sounds so simple, right? I think the biggest problem we have within co-parenting is we stop parenting in order to co-parent, right? So if I say co-parent to anyone, like, okay, co-parenting, immediately that person thinks of the other parent. We take our eyes off the child to focus on the other parent. Wow. You think co-parenting, successful co-parenting is where mom and dad get along and everyone can be maybe in the same house together, go out for meals and okay, great. Like, let's say you and the parent are able to have an amazing relationship or a decent relationship, but the child's affected. The child's not happy. The child's not growing how they should. Is that successful? Wow. Or is successful raising an amazing child and then being happy, content, healthy? But you and the dad might not talk. You and the dad might not get along. But the reason you're there is the child, right? So if we focus on parenting, if we have two adults that stop focusing on co-parenting and both focus on being the best parents they can be, co-parenting will just naturally come together.
Well, I failed. No,
You're helping me. That's real. You're right. When you say co-parenting, I automatically start thinking of the other parent.
How do we get along?
And the whole point of this is the child. So if we start focusing on what they don't do, how they talk to you, how come they don't respond when I need them to respond, how come when I call they text me back, or whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when we start focusing on that more than the child, we're walking down the wrong path. I never thought of it like that.
That's a good. That's a
Because think of it, parenting is raising your child from infancy to adulthood,
Mm-hmm.
ensuring all their needs are looked after, right? That's parenting. Co-parenting is the same exact thing. It just means that you and the other parent are no longer in an intimate relationship.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only difference. Yeah? The role you have has not changed because you're now a co-parent. Your location may have changed. For example, in lockdown, everyone started working from home.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Did your role change?
The expectations were still the same.
Or the location in which you was changed?
Wow.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's co-parenting right there. You're doing the same job, you just might be doing it from home instead of the office.
Wow.
But the requirements are still the same.
That what you said is so profound,
This
and
really is.
I really hate that we don't have you on video for this, because when I get ready to clip it, it's just gonna be me and Russell like, wow, why
Now
you
we
are
go.
just spitting
Our face
straight
gonna be like
facts.
this. Whoa.
Because it's true, right? It should not change, but the reality is that it changes.
It does.
And I think it changes because we have a incorrect understanding of what co-parenting is. I can tell you 100% that even though my first marriage, my husband wasn't like the do everything, let's go roll around on the floor type of dad, but he was present. And so his presence came with a certain set of activities and responsibilities. The moment he wasn't there, those things shifted to me because I was present, right? For whatever reason, when the other parent is absent, it's not just men, but when the other parent is absent, it doesn't mean like that person works harder to be what they were already being. It's like they start to relax. Well, she there every day, or he's there every day, so he got it. But nah, like it's still your responsibility.
Absolutely.
So that's so good. Everybody needs to hear that. Every co-parent out here in the world needs to hear that. Like your location does not change your responsibility.
Absolutely.
It's still your child. You're still responsible, even if you're not there every day.
Absolutely.
I think just touching on what you said, I think a lot of the pain and the frustration comes from expectations, right? And I heard this: if our expectations are up here, but our reality is down here, right? The gap in between, the wider that gap, right? So the greater your expectations, the lower the reality. Everything in between is emotion, right? And sometimes, in order to reduce that emotion and we have to lower our expectations. Right? Because reality is going to be what reality is, right? But if we're expecting someone to do 101 things and they're never going to do that, we're better off getting to a place where we accept who people are and expect them to be who they are. And the moment we do that, we reduce that frustration, because I'm not expecting anything more than what I know you're going to.
That's what I be trying to tell you about them. You be like, no, they better. I be like, look,
I get
it
frustrated.
is what it is.
I get frustrated.
Like, I've been dealing with this for 18 years or for 10 years. Like, this is all we gonna get out of them. So we might as well just take this and really be happy with that they at least doing this, because we ain't getting nothing else.
I'd be ready to pull up.
Yeah. You the opposite in that scenario.
So let me ask you, so in my personal co-parenting story, for me, co-parenting was really easy when I didn't have to balance it out with anybody, right? it wasn't until I got in a relationship, right, where there are dynamics that come into play that now cause me to have to pivot and change the way I co-parent, right? Little things like if their mother is about to drop them off and says, "Hey, don't worry about lunch. I'm gonna stop and get them some McDonald's." And she says, "You want anything?" I say, "Oh yeah, pick me up at number 5, and I'll cash app you the money." Stuff like that, right?
You saw my face change, didn't you? I'm sorry, what?
But so, like, in my mind, I'm like, oh, we're bodying this co-parenting thing. We're thoughtful. We're helpful. You know, it's all good. The kids are taken care of, vice versa. Now I'm in a relationship and it's like, oh, she brought you McDonald's. Oh,
It's
hold
a
on.
problem.
Yeah.
It's a problem.
So,
She didn't buy me McDonald's. It's a problem.
so it caused for me to have to like pivot and change the way I co-parent. I got to get in your business a little bit, brother. I got to get in your business just a little bit, okay? So, you're a dad, right? And you balance two co-parenting situations, which number one, you need like a medal of honor. You need like a Nobel Peace Prize because there's people who are struggling and fumbling one. And here you are, got two, killing it, making content. Hats off to you, my brother. How nuanced does it get when you start getting serious with somebody, when you start dealing with people? Does it change, or have you ever had to like pivot co-parenting based on a new relationship?
Can I interject really quick, because I'm sure the ladies that are listening have already asked this question in their head at least 5 times. Erin, are you single? Before you answer the question about when you in a relationship, are you in one now?
No.
Hey, why are you getting nervous? Why are you moving around in your seat,
Because he
man?
know how he answered this next question will determine his plans for the next 2 weekends.
But back to the question, Russell.
Avoidance, ladies, stay away from me.
Oh man, I'm proud of you, man. That's a good
He's
job.
still a work in progress.
I haven't personally had to change the way I am because I've always had the mindset, right? I think when we first get into co-parenting, we try, in order to keep the peace, we almost try to keep things as close to how they originally were.
Yeah.
Right? Especially men, I'm probably going to get come for this, but men have this expectation that you're still mine. Right? You've had my child, so therefore I'm always going to have access to you because you have my child. And because of that, we can try to cross certain lines and be a certain way. Now, in order to keep things as comfortable as possible, sometimes people leave an open door policy, right? You can call me at any time, or yeah, you can come round, you can put the kid to bed. Now, that's all great. But I always say, if the moment one of you gets with someone, your relationship has to change, it shouldn't have been like that in the first place.
I wish I could high five you.
Erin.
Sorry.
Erin, you a simp.
I wish I could high five you right now. Say it again.
No, that's good. That's a gem. That's a gem. Say that again, bro.
So if your relationship, basically, in my view, your co-parenting relationship, if it has to change because either party is now with a new partner, it should never have been like that in the first place. Okay? It was only like that because maybe one of you was still trying to get the other back. Because this is what often happens, right? You break up. If it's mutual, great. If it's not, I want you back or you want me back. And therefore, I'm maneuvering in a way in which I hope it brings you back to me. Right? And that can block that person actually moving on and getting with the right person. And I've been in relationships with women that have had children, and I've seen a lack of boundaries between that person and their children's father. And trying to explain to my partner at the time, he wants you back. No, you're being silly. He understands. He knows the deal. No, I'm telling you, he wants you back. And they got back together.
Wow. Wow.
So I think it's also for me. I'm fine to date women that have children. I'm fine to go down that path, but I have to see a healthy co-parenting relationship with boundaries. And you and your children's father might not talk. Okay, cool. That to me, it can still work with me. But if I feel that this relationship just seems a bit off, it just doesn't seem right. It seems like, I don't know, there's still unfinished business. I'm not interested. I'm not interested.
That's good.
So it's important to you to understand that dynamic before you get into a relationship with a woman?
Yeah, if that woman has children, I need to understand. Let's talk. So what is the situation with you and your children's father? Because the fact of the matter is that man is always going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
He's always going to be there. And if it's vice versa, that woman is always going to be there. So if you're now coming in, and if things go well, you will be taking on that child as well. Because that's one thing I think a lot of men fail to realize, right? If you date a woman that has children, you need to understand eventually that child will become a part. Like, you shouldn't be looking to date a woman that has children if you've got no intention of eventually taking on that woman's child.
It's true.
That's true.
Very true.
And I think a lot of people think, well, no, the dad's there for that. No. One thing I've struggled with, here's something I've struggled with when it's come to being in a relationship with women that have children, is when those relationships became serious, I was around that woman's children more than my own.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I felt guilty.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute, I'm seeing these kids more than I see my own kids. This doesn't feel comfortable. I don't quite know. Am I being a bad father towards my children? That's something I really struggle with.
Yeah, there's a lot of men that struggle with that, myself included. I had to reconcile that because, one of the things that I really grieved and mourned after my divorce was, man, I'm going to wake up and not see my kids. And that was a part of my routine. When I woke up, they're crawling in the bed. They're excited to see me. Good morning. So me going from that, loving that, to now I'm waking up in this empty apartment and it's really quiet. It was depressing. So although I got used to it, I can say it, looking hindsight, I don't think I came to grips with it, because now when I get into a new relationship and I wake up and my wife's children are here, our stepchildren are here, now I got this tension, like I haven't seen my child in 3 days, but I'm picking up our youngest 5-year-old. You're swinging her around, and I'm like, man, I got to come to grips with this. I got to work through this, because there's that grief that just comes with feeling like you're doing more for children that you didn't biologically have versus ones that you had through marriage. And the truth of the matter is, like, how do you reconcile that? The truth of the matter is, this is their primary address. This is also your primary address. Your other kids, they come on the weekend or however your co-parenting is set up. So it's something that you just got to settle your mind, like, okay, where you live is one thing, but where your effort and where your presence is a whole different thing. So
right, exactly what you said. I think sometimes, like, my schedule with my children is every other weekend they're with me, right? So they're at school in the week, and then one weekend they spend with their moms, the other weekend they spend with me. That's my contracted hours, right? However, that doesn't mean I can't put in overtime. And I always say, this is the one job where you should be putting in as many hours as you can. If you can do overtime, do overtime. I don't understand people that will do so much overtime in their real job, but you're putting in no overtime as a father.
Yeah.
Like, if I can call my children's mom up and say, look, can I get Tyler from school? Of course you can. That's me doing overtime, because that's outside of my contracted hours, right? And I try and do as many overtime hours as possible. And I think that's what we should all try and do. Don't just look at it as, this is my routine, so I just accept it for what it is. If you can do more, try and do more.
Yeah.
As a child of that kind of dynamic, so similar to you, except for I was the oldest, right? So my mom and my dad got together, had me, and then my dad moved on and had 5 more children, so like with 2 different women. So when he married his wife, she already had children. And so he went there and from my perspective, right, was daddy dearest. But to me, he was nothing. Like, he lived in Florida. I lived in Michigan. He would come to town because he still had family here. Wouldn't say, hey, I'm here, I want to see you, but would take their now children, their family, to his family and present them all like they were all of his kids. And in my head as a child, I could never reconcile how you can be a father to kids that are not yours. But to me, your child who came from you, there's like no semblance of a relationship. And as I older now, me and my dad fortunately have a relationship, and I talk to him about those things. It's almost like these feelings that you guys are talking about, he didn't know how to reconcile that. He woke up every day with those kids. He knew what he could do for those kids, but he didn't know how to be that for them and for me. So with the kids that he was there every day with, he just chose to do that with. And as an adult, I can now see that, especially when we have this relationship, I can understand his mentality, why I don't agree with it. But as a child, looking at my dad be a parent to children that weren't his, it really hurt me. Yeah. And so for fathers who are out there and who are experiencing that, I guess my advice would be, don't pull back. Like Erin said, do overtime. Like in those scenarios, you almost have to do more than what you really would do, because you're not only balancing how you feel in that situation, like your kids have feelings about that. I heard our oldest say, your oldest say the other day, well, I'm your biological son, and you know what I'm saying? Like, they understand that. They understand those dynamics, and they're wrestling with what that means. Yeah. Why are you with him? Why did you go here? Why did you do that? I'm your son, so
your parenting cannot be regulated to your geographical location.
Absolutely not.
And so many of us wait till we're in front of our children to be a parent, when there's so many different avenues. There's FaceTime, there's text message, there's so many ways to communicate. And I love what he said, because it helped me reconcile something, because I don't think I consciously did this, but I did do this, because those were the things I was worried about. Like, man, they're only with me at that time, especially when me and my ex-wife first got separated, it was every other weekend. So here I am, I'm like, man, this is a big change for me. But it was every doctor's appointment, every dentist appointment. It was the drop off from school. It was the pick up from school. Like, all of those things were ways that I stayed present, even though there was a dramatic change in when they stayed the night or whatever it was. So that helped me out. Fellas, fathers and mothers, your parenting is not based on when they are in front of you. It's based on every decision that you make concerning your children. And the quality of your parenting is going to be based on the quality of effort that you put in.
Absolutely.
I have a scenario. I saw this online, and I know the hour is nigh, but I saw this.
Like, they're gonna keep talking. I told Russell up front, I said we might have to do like a part 1 and part 2, because when we get with Erin, we get to rumbling, we get to talking, and before you know, an hour's passed. We ain't even talked about Omari and Tyler yet.
Oh, okay, well, look, are you good? I see it getting dark over there. Are you good?
Yeah, it should be all right. It's cool.
Okay,
cool, let's go.
We're rolling. So I saw this scenario, and there's this Facebook group called Conversations About Relationships. I love it. I go there for inspiration just whenever, we're looking for topics and stuff. And I saw this and I was stumped. And I said, when we get Erin on the pod, I'm asking him this, because if anybody can answer this, it's him.
No pressure.
All the pressure. So it was a woman who, there's this feature on the page where you can leave anonymous comments for feedback and advice. So she was saying how she's having an issue in her marriage because her husband got a call from his ex-wife to come speak to her son. Now, her son is not his biological child, but while they were married, they had a close relationship. They've been divorced now for quite a few years, and the child was still seemingly young when they divorced. So now that the child is approaching adolescence, he's around 14, getting into some issues, the ex-wife reached out and said, can you talk to him? Can you come and have a conversation with him? Because I don't know what to do. I'm stressed out, yada, yada, yada. The now current wife is frustrated because she's like, she's remarried. Why is she calling for that? That is not your child. It's been all these years now. Why is she calling you to now develop a relationship with the child? And there was this tension, and she was like, is this wrong? The comment section was going off, and they were split. There were some people who were like, yo, you're being insecure. Like, this has nothing to do with him and ex-wife. This is about your insecurities, whatever. Or people over there like, nah, that's too much. That's a boundary crossing. That's not his child. She's trying to get back into good graces. You can't trust these women these days. And I wanted to weigh in, but I literally had no perspective because I could see either. So.
Well, before Erin tell us the right answer, what I'm going to say is he got two daddies in succession before this daddy. He got his real daddy.
So the real dad is never been a part of the picture.
That's not his problem. And then he got the daddy that she married to now. So he got two daddies he need to call before he call this daddy. That's my opinion.
I feel like we have to be mindful, right? When we're getting into relationships or marriage is an option, we have to, and there's children involved, we have to be extra careful with that, because we as adults can take a lot more. We've been through childhood, we've been through certain things, we've been through relationships, right? So we might just look at this, another breakup, but we're taking our child along that path as well. And that child can build connections to people that we might not even be aware of. We might not think that child really likes that person, but deep down that child feels, okay, I feel a bit more safe speaking to that person, or I feel a bit more safe knowing that person's here. And I think as a man, my son has a stepdad, right? And he's lived with Tyler for 4 or 5 years now.
Okay.
I know they have a bond. And you said the real father isn't present anymore. Right? So even me as a father, if I'm present, my children's mum and stepdad break up, right? Stepdad goes off a year or two. Tyler's going through something. I can't get through to him. His mum can't get through to him. But maybe the stepdad can. I would welcome that. Because I know at one point in time, you two had a relationship that I will not be able to understand. Right? And because of that, as men, I feel like men, we're meant to be leaders, we're meant to be mentors, right? We're meant to, these are things we're meant to do. We don't just do it for a period of time. Okay, you know what? I'm cool to be a mentor and lead this family and this child for 2 years. Okay, it hasn't worked out with the mom, so therefore my mentoring and guidance of this young person, I wipe my hands of it. I don't think we're meant to do that. I think that God puts us in positions. We don't decide when that comes to an end.
That relationship.
Okay, because I don't like.
I'm sorry.
Because I don't like the mom. Because me and the mom are not getting along. Therefore, I also wipe my hands off the child. Then that tells me that your relationship with the child wasn't real anyway. It was only based off of your relationship with the mom. That's what we have to understand.
That's heavy.
Are we really building relationships with the children, or are we just accepting the children because they come with mom?
Yeah, I think well, two things came to my mind when you said that. Number one is that we never know the purpose of our relationships. Like we get in them thinking it's just meant to be love and fun and fulfillment, but that relationship could have been just so that you could build that relationship with that child to get that child then where they needed to go. So never despise those relationships. But as a mom who's dated with children, I've heard men say a lot like, I accept you in anything that comes with you. So if your kids are there, if I love you, then I love them. Like it's just an automatic, right? Like because I love you, I have to love your kids. But the reality is like it's not automatic.
There's a lot of people who don't.
It takes work and it takes intention and it takes a commitment that goes beyond what your relationship is with that woman. And I think people who get in relationships with others who have children, like you have to really evaluate whether you can take that on or not, because that is a big task, especially if that child has another active parent. So like your kids have a mom who's very present, who they live with all the time, who they love and they respect. So me coming in as the bonus mom, like it's going to take me doing even more than what I thought I was going to have to do, because they already have that. I'm not giving them anything that they don't already have in that capacity. So I have to work hard to build that relationship. But it's a lot of people who just not willing to do that.
Yeah.
They get in a relationship with you. Go ahead, Erin.
We have to stop saying what we think people want to hear, right? So we get with a woman. Yeah, of course. I take you. I take your children. I do this. And we're saying that because we think it's going to comfort that person and that's what they want to hear, right? It's like you go to a job interview. Yeah, I show up on time. Yeah, I'm this type of person. I'll put in overtime. On your first week at work, you're wearing your freshest outfits. 5 months down the line, you're not getting a trim anymore. Your beard's messed up. You're not caring. Some of you not washing before you go work. You're just going straight into the office. We're nothing like what we promised, but we spoke like that because we knew they wanted to hear that in order to give us that position. But now we've got the position, we're not understanding the importance and the power in that position. And I think that's what we need to focus on. Stop speaking in order to get into position, but then doing what is required of you once you're in the position.
That's so good. Erin, you are wise beyond your years. I don't know how old you are, but I feel like you're wise beyond your years. We have kept you an hour and 16 minutes at this point.
Hold on. You weren't going to ask him about, you said about.
I said it's going to have to be a part two. Aaron's
we got to come back?
He and the UK son in the car.
Yeah. Yeah, we could talk all day. So
right.
I think a part two, like I said, I wanted to bring you guys on the podcast that I'm starting as well. So
y'all heard it here first, what they never told us, family and community. If you, which I'm sure you have been, if you've been locked in to this guy's brain and hearing the stuff that he talks about, I'm sure that y'all will be tapping into this podcast. So round of applause for our guy, Erin.
So Erin, just give the listeners tell them where to find you, how to find you, what time you still going live on Instagram.
Hold on one second.
What?
Before we get to this, I got beef.
It never happens. Every time I try to end, I was trying to escape this.
I know.
I was trying to escape this.
No, we're not leaving.
I was trying to cut it off.
We're not leaving without this. You thought you were going to come here to the What They Never Told Us podcast and not have to address the beef.
Did he hang up?
No, he didn't. I think it hung up on its own. We got to call him back. See, this is the enemy. This is the enemy trying to stop us. I'm calling him back.
I think he hung up. I think he said, Then you hung up. You said, nope, he not doing it.
Did you hang up on
I don't know what happened, but that was the Holy Spirit.
Come on.
Listen, let's give the viewers some context, okay? So, randomly, I don't know why, but I hit up Erin and I was like, yo, let me show him my British accent so he can see that we're like kindred spirits, right? That like I'm one of his UK brethren, right? And I gave him my British accent and he said,
I wish I could play the clip.
I'll paraphrase. He said, you're my friend and I cannot let you do that ever again. That was the worst British accent. Okay, so we have listeners in the UK. We have listeners in here in the US. I am going to unveil the British accent, okay? So we can come, because I feel like Aaron gave his opinion. Okay, that's his opinion. You know what I'm saying? He gave his opinion. But that's just one person, okay? We need a well-rounded, okay, we're getting there. Here it is. We've officially arrived. Here, it just came out of me, bro. Can't help it. We're here. Yeah. So here it is. British accent on full, I don't know what you call it. My foot's all the way on a gas pedal, and I'm using it to the best of my ability. So
he's red. Erin is red right now.
He's amazed, bro. He's looking at it, and he's sitting here like it's absolutely perfect. He's like, okay, maybe I misjudged him. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I misjudged him.
He is laughing.
Now,
so
and I'm
hard.
hearing it. It's like actually not that bad. Is that what you're saying?
Where did it cut? Like, what TV program did you watch?
Bruv,
When was this program released? I've been alive for some years, and I've never heard an English accent like that.
It's Game of Thrones, right? It's Austin Powers, okay? Yeah. What's the show Drake does, fam? It's on
Degrassi?
Not Degrassi. What are you talking about? It's on Netflix. It's like a British.
Top Boy?
What you say?
Top Boy?
Top Boy, fam. That's it. I've got mad peas, yeah? Like, I'm really, I feel like, okay, it's not bad as a British accent. I feel like it's actually authentic. There's no distinction between you and I. Like, the people are like, is this Erin talking or is it Russell? They can't tell. They can't tell. Okay, scale of 1 to 10. 10 being the best, 1 being absolute rubbish, yeah? Where would you say my accent falls, okay? You gotta give me a fair one, okay? 10 best, 1 worst.
Me?
You, yeah. You. I want you to rate it again.
I feel like there's an element of, like, I feel like you're in denial. I just feel like me and Brandy have been here with you many a time. Nothing is changing. So the accent hasn't improved. I need to run with this. Okay? What should happen by now? People, this has been going on in my life. This has been going on for at least 2 months. I don't know how long Brandy's been putting up with it.
3 years.
2 months, there's been no improvement. Okay? Brandy, I don't know if day 1 it sounded like that. Year 3, where we've improved. If this is an improvement, Brandy, I don't know what it started at. I have no idea. But
I can't breathe.
They should literally take your passport.
What?
You shouldn't be allowed to travel. You should never be allowed in this country. That's for sure. You should never be allowed in this country. Okay?
You know what?
Thank you. Not everyone should be. That's what I've learned. That's what I've learned from today. Not everyone deserves to be behind a microphone. Okay?
You know what?
Wait, Erin.
You almost were friends.
I have to let you know that Russell had the idea to do that day on Instagram was completely random. He's like, I don't know where it came from, but it wasn't my best because I was joking around. He said, when he gets on the podcast, I'm going to give him my best.
I don't understand what the problem is. Like, I'm literally doing my best.
It's done. He's
well, listen, we've heard from Erin. Everyone else who's listening, I need you to tap in, bro. Tell me, what am I doing wrong? It sounds British.
As the originators of the go ahead.
Brandy, I think I've figured it out. I think Russell feels like this is helping him. I think he thinks the hand movement.
The hand movement?
Well, I see you talk a lot and your hands move, and I'm like, okay, maybe if I do that, it'll come out more authentic. Yeah. It's not.
It's not.
I feel like I'm smashing this.
I don't know. We hear our voices a lot differently. So when you hear the podcast back, you can listen and be the judge for yourself, and we'll ask our friends
Absolutely
who are
will.
over in the UK, who are the originators of the English language. So what we're doing right here is just a perversion of that. They are the originators of the English language.
True,
they
it's
know
true.
how it's supposed to sound.
Well, I'm speaking the
You are
King's
not
English.
the one.
Speaking the King's English.
He learned his English from Uhtred of Bebbanburg. I need you guys to know this. He learned it from the Last Kingdom.
Listen, y'all. Erin, bro, sincerely, man, we genuinely love talking to you, man. Like when we get the IG voice notes, we be like, yo, you hear Erin left a message? Like we're so blessed that our paths were able to connect, man, and we just can't wait to keep building, man, and seeing where this goes. So excited for our platform to get to know you, and I hope you just get waves of people. Matter of fact, when y'all follow Erin, I need you to hit him up and let him know that you came from What They Never Told Us, okay? So if you're one of the people that rock with us, a part of the community, when you hit him up, say, hey, heard you on an episode, love your content. Let them know that you're from the community.
Real quick, Erin, tell them where they can find you.
On Instagram and TikTok, raisingboys_to_men. I'm a massive Boys to Men fan, just in case you haven't figured it out. Yeah, if you go on those platforms, there's links to all other ways to connect me. But I just wanted to say, guys, honestly, thank you for just creating what you have. I said before, like the getting behind the microphones was a seed, and so much has branched off. You've connected and touched so many people, and I just want you to understand how important you guys are to us and how powerful your words are. So it comes naturally. I see the jokes and the laughter, and because it comes naturally, sometimes we feel like, oh, we're not really impacting. Guys, we need you. I just need you to understand that when you took that break, I wasn't happy. So just understand the position you're in when you sit on those chairs, when you get behind that microphone, you are impacting so many of us, and we are so grateful to have you.
Thank you, Erin.
And likewise, bro.
Yes.
Thank you 100 times over for everything you do. We got lots more work to do. I'm sure we're going to tap in again. Yeah, man. Thank you. We love you.
And Erin, offline, we're going to reach out to you to talk about our live session, about getting you on Facebook Live with our friends and family so they can also ask you questions. So just be looking out for that. Remember, that happens Wednesday, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. So if that's over here, we may have to adjust the time.
Maybe that's like 5 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. We
will have to adjust the time. So just work with us to make sure that we can get Erin on there. And always remember, we love.
And y'all should love too.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Peace.